punctuates these 10 moments. Emily Dickinson was born in Amherst, Massachusetts on December 10, 1830, to Edward and Emily Norcross Dickinson. She had an older brother, Austin, and younger sister, Lavinia. Her father was a lawyer and later a politician. Her mother kept the family home. Emily received superior schooling at Amherst Academy and Mount Holyoke Female Seminary in nearby South Hadley, Massachusetts. She had many friends, and early on, teachers commented on her facility with words. When she returned home after 1 year at Mount Holyoke, she settled in, helping with housework and making social calls. The tedium wore on her. Her first publication appeared in an Amherst College student magazine when she was 21. The prose work, not poetry, was printed anonymously. A few years later, the Springfield, Massachusetts Republican published her first poem, also anonymously. Emily Dickinson remained single and gradually became reclusive. The family's financial status made it possible for Emily to stay home and not teach, sew for a living, or have other outside employment. By her late 20s, she was seriously writing poetry and gathering her verse into hand-sewn packets, later called fascicles. She shared her love of words with her beloved sister-in-law Susan, who read her verse and offered advice. When Emily was 31, she took the uncharacteristic step of sending several of her poems to Thomas Wentworth Higginson, a well-known essayist who had published an Atlantic Monthly article offering advice to aspiring writers. Higginson would become Dickinson's literary mentor and one of the most important people in her life. He read her poems with interest, tried unsuccessfully to correct them, and while continuing to write her, eventually gave up offering critiques. After the Civil War broke out, Emily composed poetry with the greatest intensity of her life, sometimes a poem a day. These were compressed verses with striking imagery that focused on her great literary themes of nature, faith, pain, love, and immortality. Toward the end of the war, Dickinson faced a medical crisis. She worried she was losing her eyesight. Emily traveled to Boston on 2 occasions to be treated by a physician and lived in a Cambridge boarding house. When her personal trouble was finally behind her, she met Higginson face to face. That 1870 meeting was remarkable, and Higginson's vivid memory of it offers the best account ever recorded of what it was like to sit across from Emily Dickinson and hear her talk, non-stop. As her reclusiveness intensified, so did the mysteries around her. One riddle concerned Charles Wadsworth, a minister Emily had met on a trip to Philadelphia. The two had written each other, and Wadsworth had visited the homestead. There were also 3 master letters, drafts or possibly copies of mailed letters, later found among her papers. No one knew who the unidentified master was, or even if he actually existed. As she grew older, one person Emily knew as a child came back into her life, Helen Hunt Jackson. Jackson had become a renowned poet, essayist, and novelist. She also was a friend of Thomas Wentworth Higginson, and he reacquainted the 2 women with each other and their literary work. In 1876, Helen visited Dickinson and implored Emily to submit her verse for publication. The poet refused. In her final years, Emily Dickinson endured one loss after another. First her father, then friends, then others close to her. She kept writing, but admitted, "The dyings have been too deep for me." Ill health overtook her slowly, and she died on May 15, 1886. She was buried next to her parents in West Cemetery in Amherst. Emily Dickinson had published only a handful of poems during her lifetime, and all anonymously. It was not until after her death, when her sister discovered sheet upon sheet of poems, that the staggering sweep of her literary achievement became known. The first edition of her poems was published posthumously in 1890. Which 10 moments are the subjects of this?